I thought she was the mother I never had. I thought her kindness was a gift. But the moment I found the hidden recording, I realized she was the monster under my bed. Now, it's my turn to tell the truth. I remember the first day I met Eleanor. She was wearing a pearls and a smile that reached everywhere except her eyes. I was 22, young, hopeful, and so desperately in love with her son, Mark. I wanted her to love me. I wanted to belong to a family that felt solid. My own parents were gone, and I was looking for a home in the hearts of others. The first red flag was small. It was a comment about my dress, a soft whisper in the kitchen while Mark was in the other room. "It's a bit loud, isn't it, dear? For someone with your background." I didn't understand what she meant by background. I was a teacher. I worked hard, but I let it slide. I smiled, and I tucked that tiny thorn into my pocket, thinking it was just a mother's protection. As the months went by, the thorns became more frequent. She would come over to our apartment, unannounced. She would run a finger over the bookshelf and show me the dust with a look of pure, silent pity. I suppose they didn't teach you how to keep a home where you grew up. Again, the reference to my past. She knew I grew up in the foster system. She knew it was my greatest insecurity. And she used it like a scalpel. I started to feel like I was losing my mind. Things would go missing, my keys, my phone, my lesson plans. And Eleanor would always be there to find them in places I knew I hadn't looked. "You're just stressed, Chloe. You're so fragile. Perhaps you should leave the finances to Mark." She was pushing me into a corner, making me small, making me disappear. But the tension reached a breaking point the night of the charity gala. Eleanor had given me a dress, a beautiful silk gown. She told me it was a family tradition. But when I arrived, I realized I was wearing the exact same dress as the waitstaff. I stood there, under the bright lights, feeling the eyes of the city on me. I saw Eleanor, across the room. She was sipping champagne, and she didn't look away. She smiled, a slow, cold victory. That was the night I stopped trying to be her daughter. That was the night I started watching her. The betrayal didn't happen all at once. It was a slow poison. I decided to install a small camera, hidden in a bookshelf in my home office. I told myself I was just being paranoid. I wanted to prove myself wrong. I wanted to see that Eleanor was just a difficult woman, not a villain. But then, I saw the footage. I sat on the floor of my bedroom, the laptop screen glowing in the dark. I watched as Eleanor entered my office while I was at work. She didn't look for dust. She went straight to my desk. She opened my private journals, the ones where I wrote about my grief, my fears, my love for Mark. She didn't just read them. She took photos of every single page. And then, the twist. I heard a second voice on the recording. It was Mark. "Is she really that bad, Mom?" he asked. His voice sounded hollow. "She's unstable, Mark," Eleanor whispered, her voice like silk over a blade. "Look at what she writes. She's obsessed with her past. She's going to drag you down. I've already spoken to the lawyer. We can ensure the house stays in your name once we move her to a facility." My heart didn't just break. It shattered into 1,000 pieces of ice. My husband, the man I had built a life with, was listening to her. He was nodding. He wasn't defending me. He was complicit. I felt like a ghost, haunting my own life. I watched them eat dinner. I watched them talk about the future, a future that didn't include me. Eleanor would pat my hand and say, "You look tired, Chloe. Why don't you go lie down?" And I would go, because I needed them to think I was weak. I needed them to think I was already defeated. The biggest twist came when I found the letters. Eleanor had been intercepting mail from a private investigator, someone I hadn't hired. It turns out, my biological father hadn't abandoned me. He had been looking for me for years. He was a wealthy man who had left a massive estate to his only daughter. Eleanor knew. She had known since the day Mark brought me home. She didn't hate me because I was poor. She hated me because I was the only thing standing between her and a fortune. Revenge. is a dish best served with evidence. I didn't confront them. Not yet. I spent weeks playing the part of the unstable wife. I took the vitamins Eleanor gave me, but I spit them out into the sink. I let them think. I was fading. Meanwhile, I was meeting with the private investigator. I was meeting with my father's lawyers. I found out Eleanor had forged my signature on dozens of documents. She had moved money. She had lied to the courts. She was a thief in a pearl necklace. And Mark was just a coward who wanted to please his mother more than he wanted to love his wife. The night of the exposure was Eleanor's 60th birthday party. All of her high society friends were there. The room was filled with flowers and lies. Eleanor stood at the front, giving a speech about family values and the importance of integrity. I walked up to the stage. I was wearing a red dress. Not the one she gave me. A dress I bought with my own money. The room went silent. "Eleanor," I said, my voice calm, steady, cold. "I have a gift for you." I didn't hand her a box. I turned on the projector. The footage of her in my office, the recording of her and Mark planning to commit me, the documents showing the stolen trust fund, it all played out on the giant screen behind her. The gasps from the audience were the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. Eleanor lost everything. The house, the reputation, the friends. She ended up in a small, gray apartment, the very kind of place she used to mock me for growing up in. Mark tried to come back. He cried. He begged. But I didn't feel anything. No anger, no sadness. Just peace. I moved to the coast. I started over, with my father, and a life that was finally mine. Sometimes I think about that pearls. How they looked so perfect, but were held together by a thin, fragile string. I broke the string. And now, the pearls are gone. If you think family should be built on trust, not lies, hit the like button. Subscribe for more stories of truth and revenge. Don't let anyone make you feel small.